Sick and tired. That's how former high-profile Republican Max Boot says he feels about the Trump administration. And he's urging all Americans to vote against Republicans in this week's midterm election. It wasn't always this way for most of his life. Mr. Boot was part of the party faithful. But all that changed when Donald Trump became the president. Boot explains why in his new book, The Corrosion of Conservatism, Why I Left the Right. Max Boot joins me now from New York. Mr. Boot, why are you encouraging Americans to vote against the Republicans?
Because I am so disgusted by what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, you see how in the closing days of the campaign, he is running the most openly racist and xenophobic campaign we have seen in many decades in America. He is vilifying immigrants. He is spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. He is a disgrace to America. And frankly, Republicans, my former party, are no better because they have embraced Donald Trump. There is no difference now between Donald Trump and the Republican Party. In fact, many Republican candidates are imitating Trump's immigrant bashing and appeals to conspiracy mongering, hatred and bigotry, and that is not something that should be rewarded at the ballot box. And that's why I urge American voters to vote out Republicans, every single one, because none of them in Congress can be trusted to stand up to Donald Trump.
You talk about the concerns about conspiracy theories, some of the language we've heard which reflects what you hear in white nationalist literature, anti-Semitic, the pipe bombings that we've seen, or attempted pipe bombs that were sent out, the shooting at the synagogue. What kind of environment is the Republican campaign, and in particular President Trump's campaigning, contributing to politically in the U.S.?
Trump and the Republicans are creating a climate of fear and hatred, which I think is radicalizing people. It's leading a lot of otherwise mainstream Republicans to become conspiracy mongers and to propagate anti-Semitic, racist, and xenophobic sentiments, and at the very extreme end of the spectrum with people who may be already mentally unbalanced, like the mail bomber or like the Pittsburgh synagogue shooter. It can drive them over the edge into violence. And the really alarming thing here is that Donald Trump doesn't seem to care about this at all, because he refuses to back down. He was asked to tone down his rhetoric, and he said, no, I'm going to tone it up. And that's exactly accurate. He has not stopped vilifying Democrats in harsh terms. He has not stopped spreading crackpot conspiracy theories about the Central American caravan. He has not stopped attacking George Soros. So he is continuing to foment this climate of hatred in which we've already seen these horrifying incidents of right-wing terrorism.
Now, I talked to Corey Lewandowski just before you on the program, Mr. Booten. The Republicans are saying, oh, we don't know what you're talking about with this Soros language and globalist language. That's not code word for anything in white nationalist movements that we're aware of. What we don't know about these groups you're talking about. Do they know what they're doing and what vote they're courting? And if so, why are they doing that?
Well, of course they know exactly what they are doing. I mean, I can't believe that Corey Lewandowski is as stupid as he sounds. I mean, he knows exactly what is going on and the kind of base prejudices that Republicans are appealing to. I mean, the Trump campaign just released an ad highlighting this cop-killing illegal immigrant named Luis Bracamontes, which has been compared to the 1988 Willie Horton ad, but in fact it's much worse. I mean, it's a pack of lies where they blame Democrats for letting this cop killer into the country when in fact he came to the U.S. under President Bush, and he was arrested and released by Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who supports Donald Trump down in Arizona. They are just lying relentlessly, spreading conspiracy theories, spreading hatred. And the reason they're doing it, obviously, is because they don't think that Donald Trump has a positive agenda to run on. They don't think that voters are going to respond to the tax cuts or the conservative justices. And so they are fear-mongering, hoping to rile up the base by pretending that there is this invasion of illegal immigrants going on, which is simply false, because actually illegal immigration to America has fallen by 80% since the year 2000.
Well, and Lewandowski says, look, no country in the world would allow people to just walk across their borders. This is all about security. You are a security expert. You used to write a lot about Iraq and Afghanistan. What do you make of 10 to 15,000 troops being placed on the border to deal with a caravan that is weeks away? This is a shocking attempt to politicize the U.S. military. There is no
threat on the U.S. border that justifies the deployment of these troops, there's very little they can do anyway because they don't have the legal right to arrest anybody. But they're utterly unnecessary because, again, this caravan is not a security threat. It's a few thousand people, many of them women and children, who are desperate refugees seeking a better life. There is no evidence for the lies that people like Corey Lewandowski and Donald Trump are spreading about how this caravan is supposedly full of criminals and terrorists. They're just making that up, just as they're making up this claim that George Soros is somehow funding it. I mean, this is part of their fear-mongering, and you know what they're doing, what Donald Trump is doing, misusing his power as commander-in-chief to employ the military for these political purposes, is a shocking dereliction of duty.
Well, and he came out on Thursday and said that they would order the military to open fire if these migrants started to throw rocks. What went through your head when you heard that?
Two words went through my head, and those two words are war crime, because this would be in violation of the laws of warfare if this were to actually happen. Now, I don't think this will actually happen because I suspect what will happen is that all of the officers involved, all the lieutenants and platoon leaders involved will get their troops around and say, do not listen to the commander-in-chief. We are not shooting anybody unless we ourselves are shot at, because we are not going to commit war crimes out here, because the U.S. military is an outstanding institution that understands the importance of adhering to international law. But Donald Trump does not understand that, and he is a disgrace that the commander-in-chief is issuing an illegal order. That should be a cause for some alarm.
Max, you know, they like to blame the media. They say they're going to win anyhow. If the Republicans do win on Tuesday, what will happen in America?
I think it'll be a very dark day for America, because you're seeing how they're campaigning. They're demonizing the most powerless people in our society. They are vilifying immigrants. They are fear-mongering about Latinos. They are spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. They're misusing the military. It's a disgrace what Republicans are doing to win. And if those tactics pay off, they will see winning as the ultimate justification. Because whenever Donald Trump is confronted by any of the horrendous things that he says or does, his response is invariably, well, it worked. And in his mind, anything that works is justified. So if this kind of fear and loathing campaign is rewarded at the ballot box, you're going to see this times 10 in 2020. And I think this will also give Trump the green light to further assault our institutions in the way that he is undermining the apolitical nature of the military right now. He's probably going to wind up cleaning out the Justice Department to stop the investigation of him. I think it would be a nightmare for America if, under the current circumstances, Republicans retain control of both houses.
Mr. Boot, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.